We'll call the meeting of the Facilities Committee of the Lambersville Unified School District to order at 6:30 PM. I would remind people that it's a public meeting and to silence your cell phones, but there's no public. Roll call, please.
Colin Clements,
Here.
Sharon Lampel,
Here.
Jamie Legrand, Thorson Harrison,
Here.
Lisa Boulay.
Here.
New item agendas or corrections or to the agenda?
Yeah, I would like to make a change, propose a change to the agenda. I had a misunderstanding of the process that the board president and the superintendent agreed upon for the addition of community members to the facilities committee, to this committee. And I put this item on here prematurely and inaccurately. So I'd like to remove item 5A.
Removing 5A. Is that acceptable to the committee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Receiving of public comments. I don't see any blue cards and I don't see any public, so we'll move on.
Do we need a motion to approve the agenda? Or do we not do that here? No? Okay, that's
not.
fine. I'm the
Yeah.
newbie.
Is it too late to ask about the deletion and what the conversation was?
Oh, you had questions on removing 5A? I'm sorry.
So are we not having another community member or?
We are. I just put the wrong process. I did not follow the process that was agreed upon by the board president
Okay.
and the superintendent. So I made an error.
So we're removing it so that he can correct it and bring it back.
Fair enough. Thank you. Sorry.
Bet.
Facility use update. And this is where we review the minutes as well as, did anyone have questions or comments relating to the minutes from the last meeting? Okay. And the finance report, I see that we included all of last year and year-to-date this year.
Yes, and I did want to point out that there was a project that Business Services thought had been completed. It was a board-approved project for Lambersville Elementary for Delta Bluegrass. So we re-encumbered it in the new year, 1920, and you see that on page 5 of 15 for the $46,500, so the project can be completed this year.
That's the 60, I'm sorry?
$46,500 was a project that was previously approved by the governing
Oh,
board.
I see it, the encumbrance, yep.
So I wanted to make sure that that was reflected, because we had thought the project was complete, which is why you see on page 4 of 15, actually a credit under expenditure, because we had to reverse that when closing the books. So final balance as of August 30th is $197,000
After encumbrances.
after encumbrances.
Any questions or comments from the committee? Okay. Facility usage reports. And these are new formatting where we have the table and the graph on the same page, right? That's slightly new. I like that.
So what we did this time is my assistant took the numbers that are in the horizontal bar chart, which is kind of hard to read and understand, and put it into a spreadsheet. So we have both documents now. It's a lot easier to read for everyone involved.
And the effort to prepare both of these is not onerous?
We can handle it.
Okay.
Yep.
I like it. I like it. Because you're right, sometimes the graphic provides a lot of proportionality, but the table provides more detail,
Yeah, yes,
numerics.
it was hard to see the numbers in the bar chart,
Yeah.
so it's just easier to bring them up top.
Cool.
So.
So we'll just flip through Altamont. Does anybody have questions on Bethany, Hanson, Lambersville? Those are big numbers on Mountain House High School.
Yes, that's why it's 2
Wow.
pages. That's why it's 2 pages. Yeah.
There's a lot going on, which is great. The high school, Cuesta, Wickland, Any comments on any of the usage volumes? Okay. Denied, rejected applications. I don't think I had questions. I noticed that there were 4 that did not submit another permit, but everything else, of that whole list, we managed to find everyone except 4, and the others just didn't submit one.
Yes, sir.
Comments or questions from the committee on rejected applications? Okay. Any comments or questions on the list of refunds processed? Which is actually the reimbursements to organizations item E, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I guess we can, unless there's comments or questions, we can move on to information and discussion items. Okay, well, we've removed item 5A, so item 5B, your meeting with Brightview.
So I just wanted to come forward and inform this group that Jimmy and I met with Brightview this last week to talk about concerns that have been brought up by the community, concerns that have been brought up by coaches and staff, and concerns that have been brought up by principals at different school sites. And those concerns are all related to the fields, watering or lack of watering, which there's been a feast or famine really out there at our school sites where the grass is either too soggy to do anything on, or it's dry and browning and going away. So Jimmy and I met with the branch manager for our region and the new supervisor of our region in charge of our contract. And I communicated to him each individual school's issues for our entire school district and asked for remedy and to find out what they were going to do. Brightview assured us that they were going to address all of our concerns in a speedy fashion. One of the things that is troubling for me is that our director of DMOT is spending hours and hours and hours chasing and monitoring Brightview when he should be working on our school sites and facilitating the repair of other things at our school sites, not a contracted activity that should be done by another organization. So I communicated that to Brightview, and I also informed them that I was aware that we had a 30-day cancellation policy for their contract, and that I was very willing to exercise that if we couldn't get some results. I also informed them that we are growing and we're building more schools, and the contract will grow. You add a school, you add quite a bit of money to each contract. So we had a good meeting. The information that Brightview gave me was very positive, and that they would step it up and make sure that they fixed our issues. And I just wanted to inform this group that we had that conversation. We have fielded a number of concerns and complaints from the individuals that I expressed, and we are working fastidiously to make sure it's remedied. So I just want to make sure everybody knew that.
Okay, so you're going to let us know if the time eases up on Jimmy, because you're right, his time shouldn't be spent on that when we're spending money with an outside contract.
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Any other comments? So my question is, I mean, obviously Sharon agrees, and so do I, that when we hire an organization like Brightview, we expect them to manage themselves and basically report into us, right? An active report in on what they see and what they're doing about it. Did they acknowledge that expectation in the relationship, that their function is to manage? He's not telling their crews what to do, that they're deciding what to do and asking. In other words, don't ask for permission, or don't ask a question, ask for permission. Hey, this is what we see, this is what we want to do about it. Did they acknowledge that?
I think they acknowledged that and the deficiencies, even further than that, the deficiencies that we've had in the service. So I think they did acknowledge both.
Okay.
Yes.
So if they are unable to step it up, do we have other options?
Jimmy and I are working on that fastidiously. Yes, we are working on that as we speak. And there's another organization that has all the information they need to give us a quote or information on what they could provide, and we're just waiting on them.
Great.
So if there are issues with some of the Brightview employees, Jimmy, are you tracking down those employees, or is there a supervisor you can call to then track down those?
So I deal with the lead guy for Mountain House, and I communicate directly with him, and he has a irrigation guy directly underneath him. Those are the two guys I deal with. I don't necessarily talk to the guys on the mowers because they
Okay.
don't work for me, but I deal with those two guys, and then the branch manager if need be. But day to day, it's the lead guy and his irrigation guy. And this has been ongoing pretty much since staff came back in the first part of August. It's been the biggest issue for us, hands down, complaints about grounds. Pretty much across the board, except Bethany.
Yeah.
Every other school has had issues. So,
If we're seeing patches of dried grass and stuff, and they start improving, how long will that take to come back? A week or two? So we should see some improvement within the next couple weeks?
well, we met with them on Friday. Today's Thursday. Thor asked me this morning if I saw anything improvement, and I had to answer no. I haven't seen any improvement. There hasn't been any more communication with me about things going on. I haven't seen things going on. I had to send my staff out on Monday to fix some stuff at Wickland. So far, I'm a little disappointed, to be honest with you. It's only 4 days in, but I'm pretty disappointed based upon what was said at the meeting. So,
To answer your primary question on the grass, it does take 2 weeks to start greening back up. Yeah, and in some occasions, myself and Jimmy, have gone to school sites and asked the lead custodian to turn on the water in certain areas by hand so that we can at least retain live grass, instead of having to go reseed or overseed again. So, which we do and we do very well. We've done before, but we're trying to not have to do that.
But we're paying someone to do it.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I can appreciate probably not wanting to throw anyone under the bus, but that kind of feedback, like I would have liked to have known the 4 days after the fact, update, because that leads me to my next question is, okay, the next facilities committee meeting is, help me out,
In a month.
is
12/19.
It's actually more than a
December
month.
More than that.
And I'm like, okay, in order to be nimble, because obviously, if things don't get better, we can't wait until December 19th to do something. So that's going to be probably be a board action, right, or something like that.
Yes.
It wouldn't have to come here. It could go to the board in between.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
ma'am.
A board action.
Yep.
So, do what you got to do.
Yeah, Jimmy has a big job, and he needs to do his own job, not someone else's.
I agree.
Any other comments or questions from the committee? Thank you very much for sharing that with us, and be keeping an eye out for greener pastures. Camera installation at Mountain House High School.
This committee approved funding of additional cameras in the gym at the high school so that when activities that are inappropriate occur, we have evidence, video evidence of things occurring, and just to monitor our space for safety and loss when other people are using our facility, not our own high school. Our own high school could also use it if something occurs at an event, and they can use it to investigate. But it's something that is very valuable, and it's in the process right now. The cameras are going to go up in a couple weeks, 3 weeks.
the cameras are here. They have them. We're trying to coordinate a time because the gyms at the high school are just packed. Right now, it looks like Saturday, the October 5th. There's nothing going on that day in either gym, so that's the day we got locked in. So week from Saturday, this Saturday.
So we'll be able to see not only the playing surface, but the stands in the gyms. So that if I hear something went on at an event on the weekend, we can go back and actually investigate and have footage that I can bring to this group and propose, releasing an organization from using our facilities if they're violating the rules. So before, I'd investigate, look into things, and I couldn't get
He
to
said,
witness.
she
Yeah, it's
said.
hard to, you got to get good witness statements before you say you can't use this because you don't know for a fact that it occurred.
Right.
So this will be a tool that will help us in the future.
So do those cameras record 24/7, or it's something that we turn on at specific times?
They're on all the time like the rest of our cameras, and they're the same cameras that are on the rest of our systems and the rest of the schools. Yeah, indoor, outdoor, it's there on the same system. So we see it just like we see all the other camera footage. Yeah.
Other questions or comments? Okay. Banner process, 5D.
So I wanted to update this group because we had a great deal of conversation previously about banners and the difference between banners that come through my office for events that are educational in nature or benefit our students either before, during, or after school, like tutoring or math tutoring or things of that nature. Sports Boosters brought forward a list of organizations that earned a banner to be posted through a fundraising situation, and the board came to an agreement of where to post those banners, and that was behind the home stands at the high school on the fence. I just want to let this group know that it looks great. They're up there now. It looks better organized than it has in the past, so it was a really good choice. And the high school actually elected to put all their banners on that fence line, not only the ones from Boosters, but the other ones from the other organizations that support students. So those banners are lined up behind the home stands on the fence. So everyone that goes into a football game or basketball game gets to see it, and the Sports Boosters benefit because the people that bid and won their banner on that fence get seen by all the people that use those facilities. So I think it was a win-win for everybody.
So it's on the fence that faces like the little traffic circle there in front of the gym?
Yeah, it's a little further down by
further
the
down, closer to the parking lot.
But yeah, that
Okay.
fence line right there. Yeah, and they look clean and organized. They're well spaced out. It looks good. So I just wanted to update everybody so that they knew. Oh, and one more thing. I'm sorry. Sports
sorry,
Boosters. Sports Boosters is also using the appropriate banner size, so they're very uniform across the fence.
That's
So,
good, so it looks
yeah.
neat.
It does. It worked out well.
Item E, civic permits, facility use.
Jim, you want to talk about this a little bit about?
So what I've been doing is going back and just, I want the committee to know and the board to know eventually that how much the use facilities have increased for the district. When I first started here 3-4 years ago, there was no summer use at all. So what I've gone back is start to tabulate all that info. I didn't quite finish it for tonight. I'm up to like 2018-ish range, but I'll have it for the next meeting. Just to show how much it spiked over the years and how much impact it's had on my whole department with the custodians and my office staff and so on and so forth. So I'll have that for you next time. Apologize, I didn't finish it. It's a little bit cumbersome going through and just tabulating how many hours the sites are used. So, anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, one of the things that I really wanted us to notice as a group is setup and tear down is done by the custodians, right? And some of that is paid for by the use and the fees. But you only have so many people that you can bring in to do setup and tear down. So they are working a number of hours sometimes at the high school for setup and tear down, and then working their full shift at the high school. So there is an impact on his staff, and I think there's a positive impact in that the people of Mountain House are getting a lot of use of our facilities. And this year, he's turned away more folks than he has in previous years. So that's when that's why we talked about giving a report to this group, so we could really see how it's sloped up and the use has really increased, so that you guys were informed.
And it's nice for our staff who does the setup and the tear down to get extra hours
Yeah.
at overtime rates, but it wears on them.
Yep.
And I'm sure we are requesting a lot of days, extra hours on some of our folks that they're getting tired.
You bet. And the secondary, cause to this is this group needs to know how much our facilities are getting used. So when I come here with requests to use facilities use fees, I'm going to try to explain to you, so this has been used like this and this much. That's why we need to replace this now, and that's why I think maybe we ought to use these fees, because it seems accurate.
I think that'll be very informational. It did bring a question to mind, because Jimmy's team gets overtime, but that is, last I knew, that was voluntary. Like, so if there's an event on the weekend, we ask for volunteers.
Yep.
And if we don't get volunteers, and realize I'm remembering the state debate tournament that we had, where we didn't have volunteers, and the one guy that volunteered just got hammered.
Yeah.
And technically, we weren't supposed to, we couldn't say, well, okay, nobody volunteered.
Right.
We've got to have somebody pick up the trash. We need to hire outside help to get the trash off the ground. Is that still the case, or not?
I don't know, how's our coverage?
It is still the case, yeah. The first thing we do is talk to the site custodians where the event's being held and give them the first option. If they don't want to do it, we open up to the rest of the custodial staff in the district. And we don't have, I'd say, maybe a quarter of our people want to work overtime. It's not a lot, so it seems to be the same people that are doubling back and doing it. On rare occasion, had a sub come in, sub custodian do it, but most of the time it's permanent person. And so, we've done a really good job of covering pretty much everything, some big events. So I know when you're talking about the high school, they had a big debate. They used pretty much the whole campus. And there was one guy running around with his head cut off pretty much. And
Well, and that
yeah.
weekend, I took my suit off, put on jeans, and
He hauled
hauled
trash.
I hauled trash.
I didn't see your timesheet. Was our timesheet? We
need that
No, he's not fingerprinted.
No, I wasn't there. This is not the custodian you're thinking of.
So far we've been good. Aria in my office does a really good job of getting people to cover, and worst case scenario, she's covered. I've come back for events on occasion if necessary. So we do a really good job of accommodating all the use that we have. So
I was not meaning to imply that,
no,
that your team doesn't. Just on the if it ever does happen that just nobody's available, even if they wanted to, what are our options? And it sounds like there really still isn't an option on that at that point. Okay. Any other comments or questions? I look forward to getting that report. I think that'll be very informative.
Will that report include the hours that the office staff puts into all of this?
no. This is just the actual. I could do that, but right now I'm just putting together the hours at the site, and just to show how it's increased from 2015 or 16 up to now. So we don't keep track of the hours in our office. We just haven't. So
No, because that's just another task.
yeah.
So, yeah.
But the thing is, if usage goes like that, then staff hours is
Absolutely.
going to go
Yeah.
like that, right? I think it'll be very informative.
That was a while ago. I don't know if that was an ongoing request. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I asked, but I'm not asking you to do it. I'm just asking you if you were already doing it. But one more task they don't need.
Anything else on civic permits, facility use? Okay. Item 5F, murals at Mountain House High School.
So the introduction of this is boosters would like to offer to pay for 2 murals at the high school that would be painted in these, they're kind of a portcullis at the high school. This is right outside of the gym facing east. There you go. Thank you. And can you do the next one? There they are together. So that's, see the gym in the background? Those are the doors to the gym on the right side, and then on the left side it's the main entrance. They're proposing a mural painted by the same artist that did the inside of the cafeteria at the high school behind the stage. If you guys remember the mural of the Mustangs and the Mustangs running behind. It's very well done, a very nice mural. There are some images, there are 4 images that are proposed images that if this group is okay, these would be the images we'd bring to board for discussion to put in the proposed areas. So this first one, notice the shirt of the volleyball player says UC Davis. That would be those would be our Mustangs or whatever.
I would like to suggest we go with UC Davis.
No. Just because you have a kid there doesn't.
Personal pride.
Yeah.
No.
There might be some sort of copyright infringement
Yeah.
going on.
I thought the cool thing
Alma
about
mater,
this
you got
this rendition by the artist was that these are the actual sports that occur inside the gym as well, which I thought that was clever. Can you move forward again? This is another one. And the other thing I love is that's a female wrestler there to the right, which I absolutely love. You know, female wrestling is really taking off. And then men's volleyball there on the left. And then this was another one if we wanted to have one sports and one thematic with Mountain House. And there's the 4th. I like
They're
it.
nice. I like them.
Yeah, I like how it says
I
whose
like all
house,
of them, but
Mountain
I like
House.
the 2 with the athletes.
I'm with Lisa.
Because,
Me
again,
too.
Because each of the sports inside there is represented by a male and a female.
Yes,
Between the 2 murals.
yes.
Yeah, I agree with Lisa. I think we have plenty of Mustangs, plenty of Mountain House, you know, signage, and I like the sports depicted. Yeah, I think these are classy.
So the ask is to take this to the board and offer them option 1, 2, 3, or 4, with the sports boosters paying for the murals. I think the estimated cost is $2,500 that they're footing the bill for this. So I wanted to bring this here to, you know, they're going to be on that wall for years and years and years. You know, it's a permanent mural. So I want to make sure that we're good here, and then I follow the process.
Very nice. Very nice. I think that's a great idea.
I agree.
So I have questions. First of all, the actual location, is that essentially the 90-degree angle that's the food kiosk outside of the, is that the square? Okay. Yeah, so that's where the food
other
closet.
side has
the
the
food
window.
closet.
Oh, on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, I was like, do I know where that is? And I thought that's what it was.
So I am standing, you know where the red curb is and the big gate, the second big gate? I'm standing next to the tree there. Take that picture.
Okay. So it sounds like the committee is amenable to sending this to the board for a discussion. I'm not an artist. I'm not a designer. So I say that I think we have a consensus to send it to the board. I look at that architectural element, which is what you called a port.
It's technically not a portcullis.
It's not,
you-
because it's
you
not a
pass
go-through.
It's not a go-through.
It's not a go through, but it's
It's an archway, I guess you would call it. Yeah.
and I'm having trouble visualizing what it's gonna look like in real life. But you know, I was the one that said on the colors, I'm like, so I don't know. But I like if we're gonna do it, I like the athletes representing what our students are doing better. Yeah. Anyway, but the board will discuss it.
So the artist would charge $2,500 for both or each? Do we know?
I believe the total cost is $2,500. I'm,
I expected it to be higher.
Even if it's for each, I think
Yeah.
that's a fair price.
Yeah, no, I expected much higher, so that's why I asked.
one of the things I'm going to ask for that trustee Pombo asked for previously in other requests is to put the anti-tagging, there's a sheen that you can put on it for anti-tagging. I would like it finished with that. So I don't know what it's called, but we'll make sure that he does that as the final coat so that it can be saved for as long as possible.
Please.
What does that do? It makes it easy to wash it off?
Yes.
And I imagine that protects the colors also from fading.
It does.
Okay, and
Yeah.
chipping or whatever. I'm sure they know what they're doing, hopefully.
Yeah, so Lisa brings up a good
Basically
point,
seals it.
fading and chipping. And
just
how
seals
much
it up.
sun does this get?
It gets morning sun. That picture was taken in the morning at 8 o'clock.
Okay, that's
So
good.
it gets morning sun till about 10 o'clock.
Oh, that's good.
So, and the right side only gets a little afternoon sun, but it gets very little sun.
Okay,
So,
I love the idea.
great. So Chairperson, am I good to move forward?
Yeah, I think we have a consensus to take it to the board.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Item 6, action items, number A, consider use of facilities fees. I is foul ball barrier not to exceed $10,000.
So Jimmy's going to report on this. This is something that was brought forward by our baseball coach, and that's something that Dr. Nicholas and I have discussed in the past. We knew was coming when the houses were all in. So Jimmy has some information for you.
So if you look at the baseball field, that's full of houses now down the first base line. And the houses are actually extremely close to the fence and tall and have a lot of windows. So it's kind of hard to tell from the overhead view, but there's 20-foot high fencing behind the backstop and a little bit on the sides. And then it drops down to 10 feet, kind of where the dugout is, and it's 10 feet all the way out to the foul pole and right field. So what we're looking at is putting some netting up on the hill between the sidewalk and the block wall where the houses are. They have a standard unit that's 20 feet tall and 180 feet long. So it take it down almost to the restroom area down right field line. Ideally, we would be able to put the netting tight against the block wall, but because of the slope and there's trees there, and we may have to look at somewhere else down the hill to get it in, to install it. The footings are 18 inches in diameter, 4 feet deep. It's going to be difficult to dig out the footing in that particular area. And there's irrigation that runs along that block wall. We don't want to hit that. And I'm worried about the trees getting involved with the nets, but it'd be somewhere on that slope. They're retractable. They go up and down. So when they weren't being used, they could lower them down and wouldn't be, because I'm worried about the wind. It's really windy here.
That was going to be my question.
So they just basically put them up for a practice, put them up for a game, and then crank them and put them back down. We're not being used.
So the retraction's electronic, nobody has to stand
It's a
there.
crank.
Oh, it's a crank.
Crank, yeah.
Is it one crank or is it a series of crank?
It looks like one crank does all of them.
Does all the pulls?
That's what it looks like, yeah.
7 poles.
Wow. Clearly not an engineer.
I'm trying to envision what that looks like.
An additional thing is that the wind capacity is 70-mile-an-hour winds, so it can really withstand the wind. And like Jimmy said, the netting will come down at the end of whatever event they're participating in.
But, we hear things like it can withstand 70 miles per hour, but what we have to consider out here is that the wind is constant and things get battered. It's not so much that, it'll hit 70 once in a blue moon. So I really like the idea that it's retractable. It will also help to avoid any vandalism.
So nothing's really going to stop a foul ball, sort of the high arching foul balls. We're looking more at the line drive ones that are going to land in someone's backyard, potentially hit the house, hit a person, maybe, who knows. So with the slope of the hill, with the 20-foot net, we could potentially be up 24 feet, 25 feet above that. That's they do make a higher one, sturdy, but I don't know that we need to go that high, and the footing's bigger and all that kind of stuff. The 21 seemed pretty standard, pretty okay.
No, whose responsibility is it to put it up and down? Would it be the coach or the janitor?
The baseball team, we decided, right?
So in my opinion, that's something that the kids of the team could do each day. They could share responsibility, just like they rake the infield and just like they care for their field, not the mowing, et cetera, but they care for their field. They drag the infield and do things like that. I think they could have a rotation where the players go and crank it down and bring it all the way down.
And then do we have other teams play on that field other than our own high school? And would they be using the netting as well? And who's going to train them? And cetera.
We don't,
Not yet. We
No.
do not have people other,
okay,
no.
not yet.
The high school has a fall ball team, but that'd still be their responsibility.
okay.
No outside groups use it, or the softball field.
But they are able to if they put in a request, right?
I guess technically, but personally, for me, no. So I just,
Okay, wait, so are you saying that your thought is that we would deny them access to that field, or you're saying that just nobody's gonna ask? Because I think Lisa is like, we need to have the policy that covers the eventuality. And I agree with that. Regardless if we think nobody's gonna ever use it, we want a policy that's robust.
So if there was an outside, like a recreational baseball team, which we see in other communities that wanted to come use it and it was approved, since they were an outside team, we would have staff on duty?
yes, there'd be a custodian, and the custodian would have to do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that the question?
Yeah, and just like all our other facilities, they're required to have the custodial hours.
Yeah.
So we would have an employee, even if they did it themselves, we would have an employee that could supervise it.
One of the, having worked with high schools a lot, you rarely get your baseball fields used, except maybe on Sundays. Because even baseball teams, a lot of times, some of them will come in on Saturdays and throw around. So I don't know that it would get much request
Understood.
anytime soon.
Every district I've been in, we never allow it. Varsity softball, varsity baseball does not get used, period, by anybody. JV, sure, but not the varsity.
Do we need something like that for the softball field?
I don't think so, no.
The softball field's a little different angle. And if you notice the drawing, the right field line, foul balls, it is further. And when you look at the picture, it doesn't look like it, but it's a lot further away than the baseball field.
Okay.
The softball field, right field line, and the stone wall, it's quite a distance.
Oop, sorry.
I'd have to get out there, you're right, it
Yeah.
doesn't look like it.
Well,
It
that's,
doesn't, but yeah.
that's because the actual baseline is in the baseball field is much closer to the
Oh,
outside
yeah.
of the angle.
Yes, there,
It's,
yeah.
it's way inset in
Yeah.
the softball field. There's a lot of
there's a
dirt
baseline right
between the
there.
baseline
Yeah.
and the fence already.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, there's more
And
space there.
softballs don't go as far as
right.
rocket baseballs do.
I don't know, some of those softball games I've seen on TV are kind of scary.
Okay. Any other?
I think it's a great idea. Yeah, and it shows the community we're making an effort to help protect their property.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's bulletproof, but at least we're making an effort to try and protect the houses. And it's actually, if you get the chance to walk out there, it's actually pretty scary how close they are to the block wall and how tall they are with all the windows.
Yeah.
So it just makes me nervous.
So the ask is to use facilities use fee funds to purchase a foul ball barrier not to exceed $10,000. There's a second piece to this. The barrier we're looking at is approximately $6,800 shipped to us. So we may be coming back in December to ask for additional funds for install. We want to get it here and look at it to see if we can have a local contractor complete the install. And we really need to do more walking and figuring out exactly where we want it before we get a bid, and then get somebody to come in and tell us is where we want to do it plausible, and then give us, a quote.
should we be consulting with someone before we actually purchase the barrier to say, is this possible? I don't know, I'm not a contractor, I don't even know what this thing looks like, but I could see there could be a situation where a contractor comes in and says, you can't do this here because of X, Y, Z. And now we're stuck with this product that we have no use for.
Sure. Well, we can certainly do that before we do anything.
Yeah.
You bet.
So I apologize that I do not remember the recent expenditure that we did to basically overhaul the baseball field.
Was the infield and the apron, basically, the space between first and third base, between the infield and the dugout fence.
My question though,
Some of the outfield too, sorry, about 30 feet out.
and my question though is, I can't remember if we used facility fees for that.
We did.
Okay. Because one of the comments at the board was the desire to focus facilities fees to kind of target it towards facilities that are being used. And we can't do anything about the past, but what I hear you saying is the baseball field's never going to get used. So so my question for the committee is, should we propose using facilities fees for a foul ball net, for lack of a better term, barrier, when what I'm hearing right now is that that particular field isn't going to get used, or we don't think it's going to get used.
Well, it gets used by us.
But I think and maybe I was wrong about what the comment of the board was, but it was use it for things that there's and we charge fees for wear and tear, and for your wear and tear, and if there is no your wear and tear, right, then we shouldn't be using, I think that was the consensus of the board.
Yeah, I hear your point, and I don't think we were thinking of something like the baseball field or nobody even knew that it doesn't get used by outside groups. I could see this either way, that no, this is not used by outside groups, so those fees may be not appropriate for that, but it is getting used. It is a facility of the district, so it kind of fits in there. Could it be rented by another
could.
group? Well, it could.
It could.
Jimmy wouldn't like it, and he'd say no. So we'd never know about it, but
I don't get much to say around here, it's fine.
I can see it either way. Is there another logical fund for something like that? I have no idea.
Is it in our minutes or bylaws for the committee anywhere stating as such?
Well,
that would be
the
sort of
reason that I'm saying that is because within the last 6 months, the facilities committee recommended something, and it got changed by the board to say, no, we're not taking it out of facilities fees because these aren't facilities things, right? And maybe it was the curtains.
The stage curtains, yeah.
And the thing is, those get used all the time, right? The stage gets used, but it was like, okay, this isn't, and so I'm just trying to anticipate the comments by the board.
Yeah, but am I correct in remembering that wasn't necessarily wear and tear? It was something we didn't think of in the original design, and they wanted a change? Like the stage stuff?
There were side curtains.
It was the wings. It was the wing curtains.
Right, it's an enhancement. It was a capital enhancement, which foul ball fence isn't wear and tear. You're spending this money isn't wear and tear either. It's a capital enhancement. I put it this way: I'm totally in favor of it. So I say we send it to the board with the understanding that the board may decide not to.
Well, and we ask the board, do you think this is appropriate from this fund? And we also need to have the superintendent prepared. Is there another fund that can pay for this?
But I'm all in favor.
So, I'm not trying to sway you away, but every district I've been in, this is the kind of projects we do with this facility, is use money, permanent site improvements to our schools to make our schools better, and this directly falls under that. So that's what we use this money for. Everywhere I've been, this is what we do. We do something permanent, a bullpen, do something permanent for the schools that it's going to enhance the school. That's what we use those facility funds for.
But then at the same time, Colin's making a good point that the board did deny using this fund for those side curtains, which would be similar.
So there is something in our handbook. Fees shall be updated annually and published in the attachment A. All fees collected are deposited into a separate account by school site for improvements. Account balances were reviewed at each facilities committee meeting.
I think-
It says
So it doesn't
improvements.
say
Maybe we needed that at the board meeting.
For specific wear and tear, it just says for improvements.
And all requests for purchase of goods and/or services related to improvements of fields, facilities will be discussed at the facility committee meeting.
So it sounds like it's,
So I
from
think,
that wording, it's totally appropriate to use it from the facilities funds.
I think that for this committee, we have to be prepared. When we recommend it, we have to be prepared for it to come out of the facility use fees. And we also have to be prepared that the board may,
And the board can
The
say,
board-
no, we're going to pay for it
override it.
out of
We
something
think
else,
this
and
is
then we have
better.
more money
and that's fine, and
So,
we have more
yeah.
money to deploy,
to
right?
do other things, yeah.
So I'm like, I think we all agree that this is a good expenditure of the money, and we're willing to deplete our fund. And if the board has other ideas,
Where
okay.
the money should come from, long as it gets done, we're good.
So I guess I'm hearing that I should bring it to the board as
As a facility use, as a proposed facility use fund, facility fund
Expenditure.
use,
as I've done in the past with other items.
and
If I could make one last comment on this, the barrier is protecting houses that were built after the high school, and those are members of the community. Members of the community utilize our facilities, as Jimmy has explained earlier tonight. They use our facilities a lot. So to me, it seems like we're using the
not
fees
disagreeing.
for the people of the community to protect their investments.
Yeah, and I don't anticipate any problems, so we think this is a good idea. I can't imagine that the board would say it's not a good idea. The only thing the board might say is, can we find a different fund to pay for this?
Okay, so my direction is that I will consult a contractor. Jimmy and I will get a contractor to take a look at it before we order anything, and we'll take this to the board like we normally take proposals from the Facilities Committee. Yep. Okay.
any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Item 7, future agenda topics, future meeting dates, December 19th, February 6th, and May 14th. And then, unless there is additional questions, comments, concerns by any member of the committee, we can adjourn.
Thank you. Yeah, you're supposed to bang that.
Meeting adjourned at 7:19. Thank you.